the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, He is my song. 'Cause You are good, good. Oh, 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 let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, He is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, He is my song. Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, He is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, He is my song. 'Cause You are good, good. Oh, 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 and You're never gonna let me down. 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 'Cause You are good, good. Oh, 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 You're never gonna let me down. 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 'Cause You are good, good. Oh, You are good, good. Oh.
With a melody, you surround me with a song of deliverance from my enemies, till all my fears are gone. I'm no longer a slave to fear, 'cause I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, I am a child of God. From my mother's womb, you have chosen me. Love has called my name. I've been born again to your family. Your blood flows through my veins. I'm no longer a slave to fear, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear, I am a child of God. I am surrounded by the arms of the Father. I am surrounded by songs of deliverance, and we've been liberated from our bondage. We're the sons and the daughters, so let us sing our freedom. Oh, 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 You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears were drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing. I am a child of God. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. I could drown my fears in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and sing that I am a child of God. I am a child of God. I am a child of God. longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God, and I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. Sing it again. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. 'Cause you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you, I worship you. And you are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. And you are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. And you are here, mending every heart. I worship you, I worship you. 'Cause you are a waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are a waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 'Cause even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. 'Cause even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. 'Cause even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. 'Cause even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are.
To you
That is who you are. 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 That is who you are.
Hey, we're in this series that we titled Navigating Uncertainty, and as I thought about it this week, I thought maybe I didn't title it very well. Maybe it's kind of more about leading through times of uncertainty as we navigate uncertainty, because that's kind of what it focuses on. And we've been talking about how sometimes it's easy to think, well, I'm not a leader. I'm not a leader. It's not me. That's for somebody else. But if you think about it, all of us have people in our lives who we have influence with. They're looking to us for guidance. They're looking to us for hope. They're looking for us. And so we have influence in people's lives. Our friends, our family, our coworkers, our children. And so we do, whether we realize it or not, in some way or another, all of us have input into people's lives, which technically makes us all leaders of some sort. So don't disqualify yourself when I use the term leaders by saying, well, I'm not a leader. Yeah, you are a leader. And so we've been talking about how we can lead in a good way those who we have influence over and who are looking to us for guidance and for hope, and how we can navigate through the uncertain times that we live in. And we definitely live in uncertain times. Amen? Amen. And so that's what we've been talking about in this series, and we're focusing in on, we said there are some essential things that we need to have as leaders, as those with influence. There's some essential qualities that we need to have to lead well in times of uncertainty. And so we've been talking about those, and we've been looking at that, and there's basically 3 of them. I said that they were non-negotiable, that I think that these are the bare minimum, but we have to have these essentials when we lead through times of uncertainty, through times of disruption. And yeah, these principles are important anytime, but they're especially important during times like these, more important than ever. And so the last time we talked about the first non-negotiable for leading in times of uncertainty, and we said last week that every leader leads on 2 levels. We have positional authority, which is the authority that someone has, the influence that someone has because of a position that they hold. For example, that would be a teacher in a classroom, or an owner of a business, a supervisor at a job. Because of their position, a police officer, because of their position, they have a certain amount of authority, they have a certain amount of influence on us because of a position, positional authority. And then we kind of really focused more on the second one, which is moral authority. That's the one we kind of are wanting to deal with last week. Moral authority, we said that's the alignment that someone has between what they say and then what they actually do. And so that's what we talked about that last week. I can't go through all that again, and you don't want me to. But if you didn't get it last week, if you weren't here, again, there's your chance to go to our website, velocitychurch.life. It's on demand there. You can watch it anytime at your convenience. And so today I want to talk about the next one, the second essential that we're going to talk about. And this one might be the most challenging of the essentials. Today I want to talk about providing clarity. Now, leadership for the most part is taking people on a journey. And the challenge of it is most of the time we're asking people to follow us to places that we've not even been before. For example, I don't know, maybe like a pandemic combined with an economic shutdown while navigating social unrest during an election year. A lot of stuff piled on over the last year, right? Have anybody ever led through something like that before? No? Not me, for certain, okay? First time for me to lead through something like this, and you too. But I'm like you. I feel a responsibility to lead my family during these difficult days that we live in. And I got to lead them, and I got to give them direction. I got to give them encouragement, and I'm trying to have an influence in a positive way, trying to get us through all of these circumstances, the things that we're facing now. And honestly, I have to say, I feel somewhat responsible for leading all of you through this stuff as well. Now, here's the deal. Maybe when you were in college, maybe you had a class in college that taught you about this stuff, on how to lead through a pandemic, right? How to lead through economic shutdowns. You might have had those classes. I didn't have those classes, right? That wasn't me, right? I didn't have those. While you were dealing with that, I was a phys ed major. I was having bowling class or something. I didn't get taught that kind of thing. There's no maps. There's no instructions. It's kind of like we're on our own. But we're not alone, because there are people who are looking to us for direction. They're looking to us for reassurance. They're looking to us for hope. And that's the tension that everyone with influence, that every leader, that's the tension that we live with. That's the tension that every father who's lost his job lives with. Every mom who's parenting alone. Every small business owner who's trying to keep their business afloat right now. And instinctively, we know what people want from us, and it's something that we really can't provide, and that is people, they're looking for clarity. People crave clarity. Certainty. People crave certainty, okay? Now, we want to know what's going to happen and how it's going to happen and when it's going to happen. We want to be certain about the future. But the thing that we know is this, and the reason we know that people want clarity, think about when it's time for an election. We just went through an election year. If a politician's running for office and he's trying to get elected, he or she, what are their speeches filled with? They're filled with certainty. I mean, they're giving you ultimatums, and they're saying, if you elect me, this is going to happen, and I promise I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get this done, and I'm going to take care of that, and I'm going to enact this thing, and I'm going to do that thing, and it's going to be great. Nobody else can get the job done. I'm the guy that'll get it done. I will do this for you. You want this to happen? I'm your guy. You vote me in, I'll get it done. No problem. I'm the guy. Now, unfortunately, in our country, the only way to get elected is to do those things. It's to make those outrageous claims, and it's to overpromise. Yeah, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and whatever group I'm talking to, I know what they want to hear, and so I tell them what they want to hear, and so that I can get their vote. And that's the way it is. That's how you get elected in this country, is to overpromise. And then once I get in office, it doesn't matter then when I underdeliver, because I've overpromised, and now I'm going to underdeliver. But that doesn't matter, because now I'm in. Once I'm in, you're stuck with me. Oh yeah, I know I promised that, but that was just to get your vote. Now, they're not going to say that, but that's how it works, right? And so people crave certainty. And when someone promises them certainty, I will do this for you if you elect me, that's why they elect that person. And so the thing is, for us, don't give in to the temptation of promising certainty. Because as leaders, as people with influence, we can't deliver on certainty. And that doesn't mean we're not a good leader. It's not because of that. It's because certainty rests in a realm that we have no control over. It rests in the future. And if we promise it, and then we don't come through and don't deliver, we don't provide it, then what happens? Then we lose credibility. We lose trust. We lose influence with those we are trying to lead. And in times of uncertainty, the worst thing that a leader can do is to lose trust, influence, and credibility. Bottom line is, we can't provide certainty, but we must provide clarity. It's okay to be uncertain. We can be uncertain, but we can't be unclear. As leaders, as people of influence, our mandate is to be clear even when things are not certain. Clarity is being honest. And as we'll discover, clarity is enough, because clarity is perceived as it's experienced as leadership. Clarity in the midst of uncertainty creates its own influence, and it creates its own momentum. Whoever paints the clearest picture of the future and then provides the clearest instructions on how to get there, they are perceived as the leader, because clarity is perceived as leadership. Clarity wins the day, and people crave certainty. But in times of disruption and in times of uncertainty, clarity is the next best thing to certainty. Clarity addresses uncertainty. Doesn't remove it, but because we can't remove it. Okay, there's always going to be uncertainty. But clarity is our best bet for equipping our families. It's our best bet to helping those who we have influence in or who we are leading to navigate through the uncertainty. Clarity says, you know what? I don't know what the future holds. I don't know. And I'm not ashamed to say I don't know, but I don't know what the future holds. But here's what we're going to do in the meantime. We're going to do this. Clarity says, I have no idea what's going to happen, but we're going to prepare for whatever happens. Clarity says, here's the plan for now, and we'll make adjustments as we go along as circumstances dictate. See, uncertainty is not necessarily our enemy, but it can be the opportunity for us to lead well and to have influence and do it well. So we should be clear, even when we're not certain. The example of this that I'm going to use this morning is found in Joshua. Joshua was the leader of the nation of Israel. Moses was the guy that God used to deliver the nation of Israel out of slavery in Egypt. They'd been in slavery for hundreds of years, and Moses was the guy that God used to lead them out of that slavery, out of bondage, he leads them out. And you got to remember, all they knew was slavery. They didn't know how to govern themselves. They didn't know how to police themselves. They didn't know how to be free. They didn't know how to live free. They didn't know how to be a free society. They had no idea. And so Moses has to establish all this, and the people have to learn how to do this, and it's a huge undertaking for Moses. So Moses was the guy. He was their leader. He was the one they'd look to. He was the guy that delivered them. He was their leader, okay? And so Joshua was the guy that comes behind Moses. When Moses steps down from that leadership position, Joshua was the next guy in line. So he becomes the leader of the nation of Israel after Moses. And so as the nation of Israel as they began, they didn't have their own land. God said, I've got land for you. He made a promise to them that I've got land for you, and it's going to be a great land, and I've got it. It's reserved. It's going to be yours. So you'll have your own land now. And so, but originally, they didn't have any land. They didn't have any laws. They were completely landless. They were completely lawless. They were just kind of adrift. And so all that has to be established. God delivers them from Egypt. And so he brings them to the Jordan River, and he says, the land on the other side of the river, that is the land that I have been talking about. That's the land that I have promised you. And so it's termed as the promised land. And so that's it over there. All you got to do is go over there and take it. And so they sent spies over there to check it out, and they found out there were some big people over there, and they came back. There's giants in the land. It's a beautiful land. It's a great land, but man, I don't think we can take it. I don't think we can. So there's so much going on there. So long story short, they decide, God says, go do it, but they decide, we can't do it. They lose faith. Their faith falters. We're not going to do it. And so they refused to enter into the land that God had promised them. And the reason they refused was because there's just too many unknowns. There's too much uncertainty. We don't know what's over there. We're not sure how we're going to do it. We hear there's giants. We don't know that we can take them. I mean, there's so many question marks about crossing that river and taking that land that God had promised them. And the uncertainty was so great, they just said, well, forget it. We're not going to do it. And so God says, all right. So for the next 40 years, they just kind of wander around in the wilderness, in the desert. They just wander. 40 years go by the Bible tells us that until an entire generation, that entire generation dies off. And so now we have generations, all they've known is wandering around in the wilderness. That's all they've known. And so God brings them back again to the Jordan River. There's your promised land on the other side of the river. There it is. You need to go take it. And so there's the river. On the other side is the promised land. Where they're at and behind them, that's no man's land. They've been there for 40 years, wandering in the wilderness. And so once again, they're at transition place. Now here's the problem. At this point, Moses is an old man, and it's time for him to turn things over, responsibility of leadership to the new leader, and that guy is Joshua. So Moses hands the leadership baton off to Joshua, and so this is just as they're ready to enter into the promised land. But there's a really big problem with this. The leadership environment now has changed. All they've known is Moses as the leader. That's all they've known. And now we've got a new guy. And so the whole leadership dynamic changes dramatically. Now, Moses had been preparing Joshua. He'd been training Joshua to take over this leadership position. He was well trained. But what Moses had trained him in was the fine art of wandering, because that's what they were doing. And so every lesson that Moses hands down to Joshua, it was all related to successful wandering in the wilderness. I mean, he'd taken all the wandering classes there were. I mean, he got an A in Wandering 101, Follow the Cloud. He had taken and passed Wandering 201, Proper Manna Etiquette. He had passed Wandering 302, Snakebite Remedies. He had got his degree in wandering. He knew all about it, okay? And so when Joshua, when he takes over, the problem is he knows all about wandering, but their days of wandering are now going to be over. They're not going to be wandering anymore. This was a new day. This was a whole new deal. Now they were going to transition from wandering to taking the promised land, and that means they were going to have to go over there and they were going to have to physically fight for it. So they're going from wandering to warring. They're going from wandering to possessing land and settling down. And so as Joshua watches Moses shuffle off to die, Joshua feels completely unprepared and completely overwhelmed. The uncertainty of the whole thing is there. don't really feel prepared for this. If we were going to keep wandering, I feel pretty confident, but I'm not sure I've got the training. I'm not sure I've got the tools. I'm not sure I've got the knowledge. I don't know if I can do this whole warring thing and possessing and establishing our own land. I don't know. And so he's completely overwhelmed by all of this. I mean, here he is. He's responsible for an entire nation. Thousands and thousands of families are looking to him for leadership and for guidance. And so because of that, the pressure is immense and the uncertainty is immense on Joshua. And so it's no wonder that God spoke these powerful, reassuring words to Joshua. Probably my favorite, if I had to name a favorite scripture, this would be right up there at the top, one of them. Joshua 1, chapter 1, verse 9. God says, Joshua, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. And the reason God tells him this, he says, don't be discouraged. The reason he tells him is because Joshua's discouraged. And the reason he tells him, don't be afraid, is because Joshua's afraid. I'm afraid of what's going to happen. I'm afraid of the unknown. I'm discouraged. I don't know if I can do this. And so he was those things. And so God says, look, don't be afraid and don't be discouraged. I mean, this was all new territory for Joshua, literally and figuratively. And see, Joshua had never done anything like this before. Everything about this situation screamed of uncertainty. But God wasn't through. He had something else to tell Joshua. And what he tells him next changes everything. He says, don't be afraid, don't be discouraged. And then he says, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. That's the game changer. That's what Joshua could base all of his courage, all of his confidence on, that thing right there. That God was going to be with him wherever he goes. That Joshua, he could base what he was doing. The basis of his courage was based on that. It wasn't based on his ability to predict the future or to figure out what was going to happen next. It wasn't based on anything like that, and neither is ours. The foundation of Joshua's influence and leadership was that God was with him wherever he went. It was the presence of God in his life. That's what made the difference. Now, what happens next is so instructional, and it's so relative to us. So here's what Joshua does next. Verse 10. So Joshua ordered the officers of the people, because the people, you got to remember, there's millions of them. They were divided into different groups, okay? And so each group had an officer. And so he gathers up the officers, and I want to point out that what Joshua does not say to them is just as instructive for us as what he did say, okay? And what Joshua doesn't tell them to do and what he doesn't say to them, it's very instructional for us. What Joshua did not say, Joshua didn't come on the scene and say, all right, guys, Moses is gone. I'm your guy now. I'm your guy. I'm in charge now. You got nothing to worry about. I got it all under control. I mean, I'm your man. I've got this. I've got this. You don't have to worry. No problems. I'm all over it. I got it covered, man. Everything's going to be fine. Don't worry about a thing. I got this. He didn't do anything like that. Neither did he try to predict the future. And neither did he give them what they wanted, which was a guarantee, certainty. He knew better. He knew that he could not provide certainty. And so what does he do? He provides the next best thing, which is clarity. He gives them something to do immediately. Verse 11, he says, go through the camp and tell the people, get your provisions ready. 3 days from now, you will cross the Jordan here to go in and take possession of the land that the Lord your God is giving you for your own. Doesn't get any more clear. It doesn't get any more specific than that. Joshua was saying, all right, guys, here's what you need to do. I need you to collect all your stuff, get all your junk rounded up, collect all your stuff, all right? Pack up some lunches if you want to, and in 3 days, not 2 days, not 1, not 4, 3 days, in 3 days, we're going to meet right back here. This is the place, and we're going to cross the river. That's what we're going to do right here. That's what you got to do. And I know they got to be thinking, whoa, wait a minute, Joshua, wait a minute. How are we going to get across the river? There's a lot of us. How are we going to get across the river? Have you thought about that? I mean, there's some logistics here we need to think about. I mean, this is a logistical nightmare. How are we going to get all these people across the river? How's that going to happen? I mean, we got to make some boats. We can't make boats in 3 days. We're going to try to build a bridge. We can't build a bridge. We can't, 3 days. How's this going to happen? Joshua says, look, all you got to do, don't worry about all that. 3 days, get your stuff collected up. 3 days, show up right here. We're going across. That's it. That's all you got to think about. Just get your stuff, meet here in 3 days. Yeah, but, okay, all right, suppose we do get across. What are we going to do when we get across? What's going to happen then? I mean, what are we going to do even when we get across? What's the next thing? What's the next step? What are we going to do then? Look, you don't have to worry about that. All you got to think about right now is the next step is 3 days. Get your stuff in 3 days, show up right here, and we're going across. But Joshua, wait. Our parents, our grandparents, they told us about the spies that went over and checked out the land. They told us about the giants that live over there. Have you thought about that? We're not fighters. We're not warriors. We've never had an army. All we've known is slavery. We don't know how to fight. We don't know how to war. We don't know how to make war. We don't have weapons. None of that stuff. That's not who we are. How's that going to work out? To which Joshua would have replied, look, don't worry about it. You pack your stuff. In 3 days, we're going to meet right back here, and we're crossing the river in 3 days. You be here. Clarity in the face of uncertainty. Overwhelming uncertainty. See, everybody at that point, they knew their assignment. They knew their task. They knew the next step. They knew what to do next. But at the same time, nobody knew what was going to happen, including Joshua, including us. It's a one step at a time thing. It's kind of like driving. If you've ever been to down in Kentucky, the land between the lakes, you know what I'm talking about, that area down there? The land between the lakes in Kentucky, between Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley, it is intentionally undeveloped. It's undeveloped. They will not allow any development in that area. It's just like wilderness. And they keep it that way intentionally. There's no towns in there. There's no development in there. There's no businesses. And it's just desolate. I mean, it's just desolate. Years ago, we were down there at night one time, and we made the decision, didn't really think about it at the time. The mistake, my wife would say, we're never going through there again. We're never going through there again, especially not at night. At night, and we went through there at night, and we drove. There's one road that goes right down through there, through the middle, and the road's called the Trace. I don't know why, because I think maybe people get lost and they never see another trace of them, I guess. I don't know. It is forlorn and desolate. I mean, it's dark. You never see a light. You never see a building. You never see anything. There's nothing. It's just that one road for miles and miles and miles. And all you can see is what your headlights show. I mean, it just seems like you drive forever and forever. And it's not that far, but it just seems like forever. And you don't see anything. And you're thinking, what if I break down out here? I mean, there's Sasquatch out here. What's going on? You don't know. So it's kind of creepy. It's kind of like that, okay? You're driving down that deserted road at night, and you got your headlights on, and the only thing you can see is as far as your headlights. And the only way to know what's in front of you, what's ahead, is to what? It's just, you got to keep going. You just got to keep moving. You got to keep moving forward to find out what's ahead. And so that's kind of our job, right? I mean, that's what leadership is. You got to keep moving forward to find out what's ahead. And during times of uncertainty, that kind of clarity is more important than ever. Because look, if we're unable or unwilling to be clear when things are uncertain, then all we're going to do is contribute to that uncertainty. See, people need to know that someone has a plan. And if that someone is you, give people something to do now. And give them the next step. And look, be like Joshua. Joshua didn't pretend he knew more than he did. He didn't pretend like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen when we cross the river. I'll tell you when we get. He didn't pretend like he knew everything. You can't do that. You can't pretend to know more than you do. That's always tempting, I know. But that's always a mistake. Don't pretend. We're not leaders because we know everything. Clarity, it's essential. It's honest, and that's what we got to be. We got to be honest, and we got to give hope. We got to provide hope. So pretending to know more than I do, that causes me to lose credibility. Pretending will erode credibility way faster than just admitting, I don't know. Uncertainty, it exposes a lack of knowledge. Pretending exposes a lack of character. Saying I don't know whenever we don't know, nothing wrong with that. That's actually good leadership. I mean, at the same time, I don't know, but at the same time, we've got to be honest, which is what we're doing when we say I don't know, and we've got to be hopeful. At the same time, we have to remain realistic and try to be assuring, while the whole time we're trying to be candid and very clear. And so when someone asks a question that you don't know the answer to, we need to try to get into the habit of saying things like this. You know what? I got to be honest with you. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know. But I'm going to find out. And when I find out, I'll let you know. I don't know, but I'll find out. See, I'm willing to follow a leader who doesn't know, but who's committed to and willing to do everything he can to find out. I'll follow that leader, and so will you. But I'll hesitate to follow someone who pretends like they know when they really don't. But they project that they know, and they want you to think that they know, and so they pretend they know, but they really don't. I don't want to follow that guy. So we got to be able to say things like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. But you know what? I'm confident that together we can figure it out. We'll figure it out together. Yeah, there's some unknowns here, but we'll figure it out together. And so our role as influencers, our role as leaders is to reassure those who are looking to us for influence, those who are around us. It's to reassure them, and it's also to help them to not lose hope and to not fall into despair. While at the same time, we got to be realistic. We can't pull punches as it relates to the reality of the situation that we're in. See, sometimes we just have to face the facts, no matter how brutal they are. We have to face the facts, and that's difficult. It's not easy. We have to look at the reality of the situation, excuse me, that we find ourselves in, and we have to just own it, right? We can't be a personality that's all sunshine and roses and lollipops and rainbows and unicorns. We can't be that person, right? We can't dance around the facts, no matter how brutal, because all that does is set people up for disappointment. And the other end of the spectrum, we don't want to do that either. We can't bury people under all kinds of facts and statistics and forecasts and woe is me and it's bad and it's getting worse, because that leaves people with no other choice but despair. See, we need to fall in the middle there somewhere. If we can stand in the middle and offer hope rooted in reality, that's leading well. That provides clarity in the midst of uncertainty. And so we face the brutal facts and we give people something to do. We give them some direction. And we have to be clear even when we're not certain. And we can't be too proud to ask for help. Leadership and influence, it's not about making decisions on our own. It's about owning the decisions that we make. So, look, if you don't know, ask someone. In times of uncertainty, yeah, we don't know. So it doesn't hurt. Ask. When we don't know, seek out people who we think may have some answers. Seek out some people that we can ask who might know. And even then, they might not have the answer, but what they might have is they might provide some insight that we haven't seen before. They might provide us a look at it from a little different angle, and that oftentimes that insight is enough to keep us moving forward. Now, once again, we can't provide certainty, but we can provide clarity, which is the next best thing. So we need to be clear even when we're not certain. Clarity is leadership, and people will follow. After Jesus rose from the dead, there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of what's going to happen next, a lot of uncertainty. What's our next step? What now, Jesus? They crucified you. Now you're back to life. And now what's going to happen now? I mean, the disciples at one point, they straight up asked him, what now, Jesus? What's next? I mean, are you going to establish your kingdom now? I mean, are we going to just gather up and we're going to gather up some guys and we're going to have a big revolt? We're going to have a revolution against the Romans. We're going to overthrow the Romans and it'll be like we're going to have to fight our way into freedom. Is that what's going to happen next? Is that our next step, to gather up an army of people? I mean, what's next? I mean, is this the thing that you're pointing to next, to establish your kingdom? Is that what? Where are we going with this thing? And if you think about it, how would Jesus explain to them all that was going to happen next? I mean, it would really have been hard to explain to them that the whole thing of what was going to happen next, and the church and Christianity, and it was a worldwide thing, and it was going to go for generations and generations, and we're here because of that. How would he explain that to them anyway? It would be hard to do. It would be impossible, really, to explain it. So what does he do? Instead, he gives them an assignment. He gives them the next thing to do. And they did it. And we are here as a result of that. They moved forward in spite of uncertainty like we can't even imagine. And they did it. They moved forward, and they did what Jesus asked, and it was fueled by these parting words of Jesus. And here's the thing. Their obedience to do what Jesus was asking him to do, the next step, okay, their obedience did nothing to diminish the uncertainty that they were facing. But it was that obedience that would change the world. Jesus said, here's what I want you to do. What's the next? What are we doing now, Jesus? What's next? Here's what I want you to do, Jesus says. Matthew chapter 28, verse 19. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Oh, and then I got something else. I want you to do something else here. Verse 20. teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. In other words, it's more important for you to know what to do than it is for you to understand what's going to happen next. And then Jesus said, oh yeah, one more thing. And this echoes and takes us back to what God said to Joshua hundreds of years earlier. Jesus says, I almost forgot. Here's the other thing. Verse 20. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. Same thing that God had told Joshua hundreds of years earlier. I am with you. Because I am with you, you can be confident in moving forward. And he was with them, and they did move forward, and we are proof of that. So, mom, dad, business owner, supervisor, teacher, boss. Look, you cannot provide certainty. Don't even try. What we can provide, especially in times like these, is clarity. And clarity is the next best thing to certainty. So, be clear even when you're not certain. And we'll pick it up there next time for part 4 of navigating uncertainty. Would you bow your heads? Father, thank you, God, that you give us examples in your word to look at and to learn from and to follow. And Father, how comforting it is to know that we can be like Joshua and be reassured with the words that I am with you always. I'll be with you. And God, you said you would never leave us and you'd never forsake us, and that you will be with us through whatever we're facing and whatever we're doing and whatever we're dealing with. And so, God, I thank you for that. Lord, I thank you that, Lord, we're facing some uncertain times, and Lord, we don't know what to do all the time, and we don't have the answers. But God, having the answers, not what we base our confidence in, Father. We base it in the fact that you said you would be with us, that you would walk with us, you would walk beside us, you would light the path in front of us for the next step. And we may not see all the way down the path, but all we need is to light the next step. And so, God, you will be with us as we make those steps. God, as we all have those we have influence with and those that we have leadership over and influence, Father, help us to lead in good ways, that we can be clear. And yeah, we might not have all the answers, God, but we can be clear in the next step. Here's what we're going to do. I don't know what's going to happen, but here's what we're going to do, and we're going to be prepared. We're going to adjust on the fly, and we'll make adjustments as we go, and God will be with us through the entire thing. So that's what we're after. And God, we thank you for that. God, you will be with us. We're not in this alone. When they crossed that Jordan River, they knew that there was going to be battles to fight. They knew that they were going to have to physically take the land and possess it. God had told them that. And they knew nothing about how they were going to win those battles because they had never been warriors. They'd never been in battle. They didn't have any armor. They didn't have any weapons. They relied on the fact that God was with them and that the battle was the Lord's. So would you stand today, and we're going to sing this song just to remind ourselves that God is with us. He is walking with us. He goes before us, and that God fights our battles. God fought the battle for the children of Israel, and they possessed that land, and God will fight our battles as well.
When all I see is a battle, you see my victory. When all I see is a mountain, you see a mountain move. And as I walk through the shadow, your love surrounds me. There's nothing to fear now, for I am safe with you. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. And if you are for me, who can be against me? For Jesus, there's nothing impossible for you. When all I see are the ashes, you see the beauty. When all I see is a cross, God, you see the empty tomb. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you.
Almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God.
An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. An almighty fortress, you go before us. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. You shine in the shadows, you win every battle. Nothing can stand against the power of our God. So when I fight, I'll fight on my knees with my hands lifted high. Oh God, the battle belongs to you, and every fear I lay at your feet. I'll sing through the night. Oh God, the battle belongs to you. Oh God.